These are the millions of Americans dreaming of walking away from their job at 55, retiring a full decade early, only to discover years later that Social Security quietly punished them twice for it. What follows is exactly what happens to your benefit when you retire at 55, and why most people don't catch on until the check finally lands in their account. One thing has to be cleared up first. Collecting Social Security at 55 simply isn't possible, because 62 is the earliest age the law allows you to claim retirement benefits. Retiring at 55 means you are staring down a minimum 7-year gap before a single Social Security dollar shows up. And during those 7 years, something is happening behind the scenes that almost nobody talks about. Your future benefit is being quietly reduced before you ever file a claim. Here is the reason Social Security doesn't just glance at your last few years of work, because the formula pulls from your highest 35 years of earnings. That number is everything. This is the part the SSA itself spells out in plain English on their own website. Quoting directly, if you stop work before you start receiving benefits and you have less than 35 years of earnings, your benefit amount is affected. We use a 0 for each year without earnings. Zeros, plural, dragged right into the formula that determines your monthly check for life. Picture this: you started working at 22, retired at 55, and that puts 33 years of earnings on the record. Social Security needs 35 to fill the calculation, which means it plugs in 2 big fat zeros to make up the difference. And those zeros get averaged into the formula that sets your monthly check forever. The damage doesn't stop there. Even workers who do have 35 years on the books by age 55 are still leaving money on the table because of a rule almost nobody knows about. Had you kept working your highest earning years, which for most people land in your 50s and 60s, would have replaced the lowest earning years from your 20s when the paychecks were tiny. Walking away at 55 forfeits that replacement entirely, which means you lock in the lower number permanently. Now, the actual math, because this is where it turns ugly. Social Security takes those 35 years, indexes them for wage growth, divides by 420 months, and produces what is called your IMI, your average indexed monthly earnings. That AIM then runs through the PR formula using something called bend points. In 2026, those bend points sit at $1,286 and $7,749. You receive 90% of the first $1,286, then 32% of everything between $1,286 and $7,749, and just 15% of anything above that. The result is that every zero pulling your AIM down costs you money at all 3 tiers of the formula simultaneously. This is where it gets worse, because we haven't even touched the second penalty, the early claiming reduction. You retire at 55, wait it out, and the day you turn 62, you file. What happens next depends on your birth year. And for anyone born in 1960 or later, full retirement age sits at 67. Claiming at 62 lops 30% off your benefit permanently. The SSA's formula is precise, taking 5/9 of 1% off for each of the first 36 months before full retirement age, plus 5/12 of 1% for every additional month after that. Run the numbers, and that is how you land at a 30% haircut. Let me put real dollars on this. In 2026, the maximum monthly benefit for someone retiring at 62 comes to $2,969, while at full retirement age of 67, the max climbs to $4,152. And for anyone who can hold out until 70, the ceiling reaches $5,181. That is the difference between roughly $35,000 a year and over $62,000 a year for the rest of your life from the exact same earnings record, decided purely by when you claim. There is a flip side most early retirees never consider, and that is delayed retirement credits. Between full retirement age and 70, your benefit grows by 8% every year. Guaranteed tax-free growth you'll never find sitting in a savings account. Retiring at 55 and claiming at 62 means you walk away from every dollar of that growth. Here is where the single biggest piece of confusion has to be cleared up. The one I see in the comments on videos like this all the time. The rule of 55. People hear rule of 55 and assume it has something to do with Social Security, and it absolutely does not. The rule of 55 belongs to the IRS, allowing you to pull money from your current employer S401k or 403b without the 10% early withdrawal penalty if you leave that job in or after the year you turn 55. That is the entire rule. It doesn't apply to Social Security, and it doesn't apply to IRAS either. So anyone who built their retire at negative 55 plan around the rule of 55 needs to understand that Social Security plays by an entirely different set of rules. Then there is the health insurance problem most people would rather not think about. Medicare doesn't kick in until 65, which means retiring at 55 creates a 10-year coverage gap. You have to bridge yourself. Choices include ACAR marketplace plans, Colorado BRA for up to 18 months, joining a spouse's employer plan, or returning to part-time work for the benefits. Vanguard, Fidelity, and Merrill Lynch have each published entire guides on this one problem, because for early retirees, healthcare can quietly become the single largest line item in the household budget. Hanging over all of this is the trust fund question. The 2025 Trustees Report projects the old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund will run out of reserves in 2033, with the combined trust funds depleting in 2034. None of that means Social Security disappears, because even if Congress does absolutely nothing, ongoing payroll taxes would still cover about 77% of scheduled benefits. But about 77% is not a number anyone wants to build a 40-year retirement plan around. Bringing it all home, retiring at 55 triggers 3 things to your Social Security, and they stack right on top of each other. First, the formula plugs zeros into your benefit calculation, or it locks in your lower earning years instead of letting your peak years replace them. Second, the day you finally file at 62, you accept a permanent 30% reduction off an already shrunken number. Third, you forfeit 8% a year in delayed retirement credits that waiting until 70 would have earned you. That is the triple penalty of retiring at 55, and it is exactly the part the SSA doesn't put in the brochure. None of this means retiring at 55 is the wrong move. For the right person with the right portfolio, the right healthcare plan, and the right life expectancy, it can absolutely make sense. The Financial Planning Association has pointed out that for anyone facing a shorter life expectancy or immediate income needs, claiming early becomes the rational call. The catch is that you have to walk into it with your eyes open, because the version of Social Security you saw on your statement back at 45, the one assuming you degrind it out until 67, that is not the check waiting for you. Not even close. Before handing in that resignation letter at 55, pull up your Social Security statement at SSA.gov and run the numbers two ways. Once assuming you stop working today, and once assuming you push through a few more years, the gap between those two figures might turn out to be the most expensive decision of your life, or the most freeing one. But at least you'll know which one you're choosing